Hi, everyone. Jen, I think we're live.
We are.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Happy release day.
Thank you. Happy release day to you. I
Thank
mean,
you.
you
So,
guys were a
for
part of
those who, well, we were. So, brief introductions, although I'm sure Jennifer does not need any introduction. My name's Jillian Stein. I'm one of the owners of Blue Box Press, one of the publishers of this amazing series. And I am here with number one New York Times bestselling author, Jennifer Armentrout. And we are here today to celebrate. Look how pretty. A light in the flame.
I think it's
Ta-da!
there.
Show and tell for the evening. This is the Barnes & Noble edition that is gorgeous. And one quick housekeeping thing. The signed book plates will be mailed after the event, and you will expect to see them in about 8 to 10 days. So there's our housekeeping for the evening. How are you? Happy release day. How is your release day going so far?
Good, good. I have been just doing some little bit of work and cleaning in preparation of you and Liz's visit.
Yes, we are going to visit my other business partner, Liz Berry, and I are going to visit Jen tomorrow, and we will be doing another event on Thursday night, but we get to hang out with Jen. I know you guys are jealous. Sorry. Publisher and friend perk. So I think we should probably just dive right in because we have a lot of questions. And I'm going to do my best to answer everything. One quick thing in the Q&A section, if you guys see a question that you really want to have answered, click the upvote button because that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. And I have all of the other questions that you guys submitted. So I'm going to do my best to get this all kicked off for you guys. Okay. First, I have a question. When you're writing, I mean, Poppy and Sera are very strong heroines that are obviously very similar. Is it hard to write such strong heroines that do have different nuances, but are, again, still badass bitches?
It can, I think writing, any type of characters who have either similar backgrounds or a little bit of similar personalities can get difficult in making sure that they do sound uniquely themselves. The good thing is like once Sera's story progresses like it does in Light in the Flame, you could see where a lot of the similarities between her and Poppy that I had in the first book, tend to disappear and fall to the wayside. And then you kind of see, that she is a lot different than her. But yeah, because you just want to make sure that these characters stand on their own. So you just want to make sure you're not like repeating anything. And that can get difficult. Especially when you get that many books in total, not just with the series. It's a lot.
Yes. Speaking of the books and the series, I know you've answered this before, but I'm just going to pretend like no one knows. A lot of questions were asked about the inspiration from Blood and Ash, Flesh and Fire, the whole series as a whole. Where did it come from?
Well, originally I had the idea for the Blood and Ash series, and I got the idea first when I was watching the 2016 Summer Olympics. I don't know why I got the idea because Blood and Ash is literally nothing like the Olympics.
No.
And now, of course, that was a while ago before I even started writing the book. And, I was kind of fleshing the world out when I had downtime in those years. And some minor things had changed, but even the original idea that I had was nothing like the Olympics. So you get inspiration from everywhere and nothing. So it's really hard to put a finger on it. But for the Flesh and Fire series, as the main series was progressing, and I knew that we were going to be exploring and revealing, who the gods were and the primals and the big twists there, that it was going to be a lot of info dumping, right. And it would lose I felt a lot of the emotion behind why the characters have made, Sera and Naitos, all of them have made the choices that they made, unless you were actually seeing why. Right. So that's where that idea kind of came from, was to be able to show you exactly what they were going through, but also to show you where the Ascended from the Blood and Ash world got a lot of their, culture, their ideas from, was based on what it used to be like with the primals and everything. So I kind of wanted to be able to show that.
So you mentioned the word info dump. Now, I love that there's not, to me, when I'm reading, it's not a lot of info dump and then something small and then a lot of info dump. How hard is it to kind of balance? Because there's a lot of, especially when it comes to this series, because you've got to kind of start where all of that lore and everything comes from. How hard is it to balance the really great juicy parts and, the parts that we fall in love with these characters versus adding in the important parts, like for us to learn about people's past and learn about all of these other, world building parts?
Well, to me, that is something that just organically, I find that where I can, explain something, show something to the reader, that to me isn't the hard part, because it's kind of like, it just comes to you as you're writing. The hard part is when you're writing book 2, book 3, and in longer series, is recapping for the readers what has happened in the previous books, and doing so in a way that it makes sense, that you can kind of slide that in there, because not every reader has the time or wants to go back and read the previous book. But I do admit, when I do, I'm the same way.
I know.
A few books, that I'll reread over and over again. But I do admit, when I get to about the 4th or 5th book into a series, I'm done doing that. Because at that point I'm like, you know what? I've recapped this 4 times now.
Right.
Go back and refresh your memory, please, because I can't do it. But I wish you could have, you remember on TV when a new season would air and you'd be like, on season 5 of Supernatural, there would be this little, I wish we could have that at the beginning of a book. That would be amazing.
I mean, hey, who's to say we don't throw a video together next time?
Yeah.
That's
just
a good
put
idea.
it in the book, just to be there's a little synopsis at the beginning of the books that explains, in really quick, boring terms, this is what happened.
What happens? This is what happened last time. Just refresh your memory, because I know I could use that personally. I mean,
I have to. I rely on the copy editor, Shell, her notes, because I'm like, what happened here?
You're like, thank you. So that kind of leads into another reader question that asked, where did it go? I lost it. Have you ever gotten confused while writing certain things that sound similar in the same story?
Oh my gosh, yeah. For example, right now I'm writing some quick scenes for something that takes place in this world. And I was almost halfway writing the scene before I realized that the lake is it didn't strike me that there are 2 different lakes. There's a lake in Macedonia that Poppy and Tawny had gone to, you don't see them going to, but they talk about it. Then there's Sera's lake, which is in Carcedonia near Wayfair. And Poppy, would have seen that lake when she was there before. And I was getting halfway through writing that before I was like, damn it. That's not, lake's not there. I was doing something completely different. And I was just like, what am I doing? And then I almost called it the woods. I almost called them the dark elves. And that's when I caught myself. I was like,
you're like, oh,
wrong city, wrong book.
You're like, wrong city, wrong time. And a lot of people don't know too, speaking of cities and all that, you're very involved in the map, the production of the map that is in the books now, which is very cool. Cause that's a lot of work too.
Yeah, I do a really funny, generic version in the system called Incarnate. Okay. And what it is just me procrastinating, basically, because it's fun. I can get so sucked into building that map that I'm up until 2:00 in the morning trying to move a little purple tree across the map. Like, and it's hard because it's like if you click on the wrong thing, you get stuck. I mean, but yeah, so I'll create that sometimes and send it in, and then other times, we just kind of give directions for the map to be created.
Yeah.
I love the map in A Light in the Flame. I love the style of that map.
Let me get it for you. And while I'm getting this map, I will read you another question. It says, how many books will be in the Sera Nikto series?
There's 3.
Yes.
Three.
We answer that. Look, I'm learning, you guys. I'm learning. Okay, so I don't think we can answer this. We're gonna ask this, and then we're just gonna say stay tuned. Do we know what the next book will be? Poppy Cass or Sera and Ash?
You will learn
very soon. But in the meantime, here's the map. I love that one.
Yeah, and I actually, for those who are in J-Landers, you saw my goofy version of that map that I created with the oh no's, the oh no's hose.
The oh no's. Okay, so someone asked, what was your biggest struggle in writing this book in particular?
I think the biggest struggle was it would be dealing with, Sera has her own things that she's struggling with, and Ash does too, but you're only in the point of view of one person. So trying to to capture Sera's struggles and then Ash's at the same time. But again, you get to see hers because you're inside of hers, and to see his, you kind of have to be really paying attention to some of the things he's saying or doing. And that can be hard to do because you have to sometimes like pull on your own personal experience with certain things like anxiety or depression. And there are times that can put you like in a weird headspace, like when you're writing it. Because I mean, for it to feel real, it's often coming from real emotions that I've experienced and other people have. So that can sometimes put you in a weird headspace. Yeah. So that probably was the hardest part. But only because it's just it's just hard sometimes to balance when you're writing about something like that and balancing in the action and the romance. Because one thing I do think we see a lot in fiction, that when we do deal with mental health issues, it's like the entire book is about that. And that's great. There should be, but I often want to see that more in books that are not about that. Like seeing people who have this, but it doesn't define who they are. Right. It's not the sum of who they are. And but it can be a little difficult sometimes working all that in.
Well, and that kind of leads into Catherine from Pennsylvania said, why was it important for you to write Sera's PTSD?
Because I think, again, I always like in a lot of my books and different series, I always try to include something like that, not just that, but different types of mental health, issues. Because again, I like to be able to have people who are reading a book about, fantasy worlds or aliens or gods, but you're seeing real issues in there. And you may be able to see certain things that you've dealt with in your past, or you may deal with, or someone who is. And it's kind of just showing you this is normal. I mean, it's like you're not alone. People feel this way. And again, it's having it in a book where it's not the sum of who that character is. She can still go out there and kick ass. She can still fall in love. She can still do all these things. And that's something that I love to see a lot of going forward in different books, where it's like you are seeing people who are struggling with these things still living their life. And because I think that just shows you that you can.
Well, I mean, honestly, from the other side of things, from the publishing side of things, to see, people react so positively when Sera first started, with her breathing technique and that was, people really were appreciative that was represented, that she is a badass. But, there's those moments where she's like, I have to deal with this. I have the tools to deal with it. I'm still dealing with it. And it's okay.
And by the way, that's a real breathing technique. That's from my other lifetime of working in psychology. Of course, that technique will not work with everybody with anxiety. For some people, that can trigger like an anxiety attack.
Okay.
So it depends on who you are, but that is an actual technique. There's another one in this book, and a different technique, I do believe, that's in here. Yeah, where he tries to show her one, I think. Because there are some things I ended up removing from this book, and so sometimes that's hard. It's remembering what actually made it into the book. Because I'm like, shit, it's not in the book. But yeah, that's actually a real technique. So,
do you have like a folder in your computer of all the scenes that didn't make it into something?
I wish I was that organized now. It's just in one of the old files that I have to then
Whoa.
go.
I'll be like, oh, don't make me go back and read it. La, 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 la. Okay, so this is kind of like in the future thing. So we don't really know specifically, but does the end of A Light in the Flame merge the timeline with the end of the War of Two Queens?
That's something you're going to, eventually find out, but there wouldn't be a clean merger. Like in a certain sense, but there is going to be a merger.
Are we going to see more of Castile and Poppy?
Yes. They have one more book that they are like the lead characters in.
Yes. All right, let's go back to some reader questions. Mary from Kentucky said, do you plan on writing a series about the Wolven?
I would love to. I think they would be fun. I don't think I've ever, I have writed.
Well, listen, you just got your COVID booster, it's all right.
I write books.
I write some books.
There's my West Virginia coming out. No, I have written other books where, there's some level of shifter, like in a way, but I've never like really written like a true shifter, like where they're shifting into another animal form.
Right.
Like, so I think that would be fun, but right now I don't currently have any plans to, just because like I have to finish, what I'm doing now, even though I have like tentative ideas for future stuff, I just can't jump too far ahead, because then my brain starts thinking of things that I can't write, and then it becomes chaos.
Well, yes. I don't know how you keep all of this straight in your head to begin with, because I get that is amazing. Amanda Kelly asks, what writing advice would you give to those who also write fantasy romance?
The best advice, and this is going to be, it's going to be the simplest advice, and this is stuff that other authors have said a million times. Write what you want to read. And I know that sounds like duh, but it's not, because when you're writing, you're inevitably going to find that you're writing something that you think other people want from you. So you stop kind of writing what you want to write. And whether or not it's catering to market trends, to publishers, to agents, to readers, you end up doing that. And that is a path of heartache for everybody.
Yeah.
Because if it's not what you really want to read or, to write, you're going to lose your passion for it very quickly. And that's one thing about writing, is people always talk about like, that it's a passion and it's a dream, and it is, but at the same time, it's like anything you love. There's going to be days that you don't love it. And when you're forcing yourself to do something you don't want to be doing, those days are going to be more, and they're going to be harder to get past. So that's the best advice I can give.
That is great advice. How about, can you talk a little bit about your process? Are you a plotter or a pantser? And for those of you who don't know what a plotter or pantser is, a plotter is someone who, kind of sits down and plots out, chapters and everything. And a pantser is just like, I'm going to sit down and write this book.
I am a bare bones plotter, in the sense that I usually know how the book's going to end. I know where I want to be at in the middle, and usually I know how it's going to end. Sometimes I don't. And then I kind of figure that out. And then I pants the rest of the way. I kind of just write as it comes to me. And then once I get to about, 60% done in the story, I will often then try to outline the final chapters. And that is just really to kind of streamline myself in, so I don't get lost in the weeds
Yeah.
when I'm on the down slope of a book, where you can really just get lost in the sauce when you do that.
And you're like,
So
what
then
am I writing?
I plot out at that point.
So you have a note. Some people might not know she has a great notebook, and she kind of goes through, and after she's done, either removes you post-its or you've something you cross them out. It's pretty cool to see. Have you ever, now this is like a personal question from me. You've written some amazing lines in this series and the From Blood and Ash series. I mean, don't borrow today's problems for tomorrow, or I'm getting it wrong because I'm not thinking straight. Have you ever gone back and read them and been like, damn, that was really good?
Well, that one is really good because I didn't come up with that. I am so shocked by the amount of people who have never heard that line, that saying before. Don't borrow tomorrow's troubles. That's like a really, I mean, one thing I do learn about sayings is that it is truly regional, like, right? It's something regionally you have heard, and then you can go a state over and they've never heard people say that. But I mean, there's other ones that aren't something that I've heard elsewhere that I've then have seen. Like there's that website, what is it called? I think Word Porn, that will share. And there was one where they shared it and I was like, oh, and then I saw that it was written by me and I was like, oh. I totally didn't even recognize it.
You're like,
I think it was awesome. It's from one of my earlier books. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't ever think that as I'm writing. I'm always surprised by what lines stick out to readers, whether they're powerful lines or funny ones. It's not something I ever like purposely try to do, because I feel like then you can get really stuck on trying to write this emotionally powerful line or this funny line.
Well, speaking of that, like, I know that you've taken some of the, the fan phrases like Daddy Niktos and like, Reaver Butt, like those are things that kind of came about with fans, but you actually put them in the books, which I think is the best ever. Are there any like other ones that you kind of have on the back burner that are going to go in like other books? You don't have to tell me what they are, but do you have any?
Well, yeah, I like doing that. That's my little Easter egg. Now, Reaver Butt isn't from readers. Reaver Butt is actually a shout out to Larissa Ione.
Oh, I don't think she knows that.
Yeah, that's a shout out for Larissa. I think she knows that I named Reaver after Reaver.
Oh, I don't know if she knows that either.
So her character, she has a character. It's an angel who's named Reaver. And he's kind of, I'm not going to give too much spoilers away, but he's kind of like the babysitter of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. He's like the good angel that babysits them. And he's just funny because the other angel, the bad one, has a nickname for him, which is Reaver. I don't think it's Reaver, but it's Famine. She has a Weaver Beaver, something like, it's a weird funny nickname. And so that was my little shout out to Larissa. But there is one, I saw one the other day and I've forgotten it already, so I have to go back. A reader had one with Cass I've never seen before that was really funny, and I need to go back and look at it. Because if I see something funny like that, I'll try to work them in.
Oh my God, it's the best. I'm seeing a lot of people talking about Miss Willa and her diary.
What diary are they talking? Because there's 2 things. There's Miss Willa's diary, which you hear about in the book, but then there is the companion, or I can never say it. Compendium that I don't think it's been announced, but since there's no like pre-order or think anything up for it yet, it's hard to talk about that because that is, but I
don't think a lot of people know what we're talking about because the questions coming through, people are very excited. So maybe we can tell them a little bit.
Yeah. So one thing that's coming out next year, I'm not sure exactly when.
We'll be vague. We'll be very vague.
Yeah. Is the it's kind of a companion. Okay, it's a companion novel.
Also, it's a secret between us and 500 of our closest friends right now.
Yeah, a companion. It's like a Bible. So basically, a lot of readers have been asking because they know I have a Bible. Like the copy editor Shell, she creates a Bible for each book. because honestly, when you're writing this type of stuff, you need something to go back to. But we didn't want to give just, the standard boring Bible thing. So it's basically the history of Atlantia and Solus and more told from Miss Willa. And within that, you're going to get a lot of information about past things that have happened. But you will have some entries from her diary. And you will have a ton of, there's a lot of scenes that you haven't seen. So there's a lot of POV scenes from like cast. There's scenes like what I was working on today was Poppy and Tawny that no one's seen. And each of those scenes, for the most part, not all, but many of them have things in them you should pay attention to.
Yes.
But there's fan art in it. I mean, it's a pretty amazing thing, but it's got a lot of new stuff in it. And that's Visions of Flesh and what is it called?
Not 100%. I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's Visions of
Bad publisher.
Yeah, I think
Visions of
Blood and Flesh and Blood.
That might be it.
Don't quote me.
Don't quote either one of us.
Yeah, on that.
Okay, getting back to this book, because my favorite question was Melissa from Tennessee said, why did you make Ash a virgin in book 1?
He is not my first male character that I've had that is a virgin. But for him, it made sense as you read A Light in the Flame and you learn a bit more about his past. It made sense on multiple different levels because of some of the stuff he's going through, but also with what he's dealing with Colas. He, hasn't had a lot of time to really even think about that. I mean, besides like, the idea of basically just getting off, which,
right.
Yeah. I mean, which is nothing, wrong with that at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's something Sera is all about before, she meets him. But, Ash is a bit more like, he needs some thought or feeling behind that kind of stuff. So he hasn't really had the chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's hard to talk about because it gives away a lot of spoilers in the book. But once you read the book, you start to understand a bit more.
It was refreshing because again, he's hella old.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, but I love it. I mean, that's fantastic. Okay. Sorry, everyone. I'm just trying to do this. I feel like I should be like, yeah, do we get to see Nectis find love again?
You might eventually. I would love that all my additional characters, all my side characters had, active romances on the page. Sometimes that just doesn't work out because there's just not enough room for it. Mm-hmm. When you're writing books that are this size, there does become the texts, messages, emails, phone calls with the publisher where it's like, I am nearing this word count. And the thing is, word count does start to matter once you start to get in a certain word count. Yes. Because of how the print book itself is put together is affected.
Yeah.
Like, for example, some of the print books that we've had in the Blood and Ash and probably A Light in the Flame, I don't remember what the word count was on that, but we're encroaching the point that you can put it in paperback, but we can't guarantee that shit's going to stay together.
Right. You're going to open it and pages are going to be like,
be very gentle. And that's not a quality issue. That is, the book is now too big to be in print. But we do like to be able to give readers a cheaper option if they want something in print. But, you have a book where you will break the spine accidentally. And that can happen when you have a book that's big. So, that affects, a lot of things that go on with side characters and stuff like that, where it's like, I need to shave off about 20,000 words right now.
I know, when that's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Caitlin asked, will we get to see Millie's story? That's my favorite.
Yes, there are plans for y'all to see Millie's story. And you know, right now that's to go. I mean, that should be happening. When is hard to answer, but you will be seeing her. I mean, you're going to see her in the next Blood and Ash book, and then, you know, going forward.
What kind of, Justine asked an interesting question. What kind of accent do you hear your character speaking when you're writing?
I mean, I'm American, so of course it's British or something like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
anything other than our accent.
Yes.
Like anytime,
It's
like
Game of
with
Thrones.
when I do like we've been doing a book club read along, and there's been several people who have been like in England and New Zealand, and which always cracks me up when, because it's like pitch black in England at that time, because it's like
Right.
2 o'clock in the morning. New Zealand is in a totally different life. They're another day ahead in the morning. And it's summer, or it's beginning to become summer there in Australia. So Zealand, I think New Zealand would be the same way.
Yes.
If I have that world map completely wrong, just ignore me.
Listen,
But every time I listen to them talk, like one of them said something really hilariously, like, you know, kind of crass the other night, but it was like the classiest thing you've ever heard in your entire life. Like I could have her cuss me out all day, and I would just be like, that's nice.
You're like, oh my God, you sound so sweet. Thank you so much for calling me like the biggest jerk in the world. I love it. Tell me more.
So professional. But yeah, so probably like an accent like that. And then not necessarily British, but like some kind of, you know how like if you hear a person and you're like, are they from England or Australia, or is it a little bit of Irish in there? like, you know, so something like that, where there's a bit of an accent.
Yes, I love it. It's like Game of Thrones. Like it's very generic.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's got the same kind of, lots of questions that I wish we could answer, but are very spoilery, and or we haven't announced things yet. So, can we expect any other creatures? Victoria asked, any other creatures besides dragons and wolvens?
Yes. I mean, this is kind of a spoiler for an upcoming, you know, you see ones mentioned in A Light in the Flame, and you will eventually see them in the next book. But you will see the little mer people. Everybody likes the little Serons.
They're so cute though.
But are they?
But are they? Victoria also asked, how did you go from Wicked to From Blood and Ash?
There's a lot of books in between that. So I don't even know if I could answer that, because I wrote Wicked back in, oh my God, I don't even know. Probably want to say like 2015, 16. I don't know. It was maybe 18. I don't know. It was a while. I mean, it feels longer than that. But it was a while ago. I've written some contemporaries since then. So I think, you know, I definitely have written the Devincent series.
Yes.
What else have I written? Oh my gosh, yeah.
How many books have you written? Now, what is this book? What is this number?
60 some. I have to pull up the spreadsheet to look. I think it's like 65 maybe.
Oh, I was kind of hoping it was like 69. That would be perfect.
I know, right? Have to make that a real special book.
I mean, that would be amazing.
But no, I've had a lot of contemporary books in between Wicked. Wicked was written quite some time ago, it feels like. And I mean, what feels like quite some time to me, because there's so many books in between that.
Well, that's the thing. It definitely was not recent. Let's see. Is Jen wearing a veil right now? No, I don't think so.
Am I wearing a veil?
It looks like your chair. Your chair looks like you have a veil.
Oh no, it's my chair.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I was.
I know. Now, next time we're going to have to dress as characters.
I do have a crown behind me on the shelf.
You could be Sera because your hair is blonde now.
Oh, but it ain't that blonde.
Well,
I would love to have that blonde hair just for like one day.
You could do it.
Oh no, my hair would fall out.
Well, a lot of other questions that I wish we could answer, but we cannot. Has this been your favorite series to write? I feel like that's a little unfair, but also I'm curious to know because it's like picking your favorite child, I guess. But I only have one child, so I feel like I can ask that question.
I think, it's always hard to answer that question. Like, it's like, again, it's like the favorite child, right? Like you say you don't have a favorite kid if you have multiple kids, but you totally do. Like you're just lying. Not everybody, make a generalization, but most parents have a favorite kid. And I was not that child in my household. I knew that because I was kind of bad. But I do have favorite books for different reasons. Some of them are personal or professional reasons, but Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire are definitely up there. I mean, they're probably in the number 1 or number 2 spot. Because like they were like the Blood and Ash was like the book of the heart where I kind of sat around on it for years and was like, I don't know if I have what it takes to write high fantasy because I've never written that before. It is a lot different than, contemporary fantasy. Right. So is there a monkey on your bookshelf?
There?
Yes.
That's Figment, Disney's Figment.
Is it a monkey?
No, it's a dragon.
Oh, it looks like, I'm sorry. It looks like, I can't tell my vision. But I was like, is there a stuffed monkey on your
book? No, it's Figment. I could go grab him if you want to see him.
Yeah, I want to see him.
Okay.
But
ignore my slippers, everyone.
Okay. But Blood and Ash is probably like number 1, number 2, because it was something that was the book of my heart. Oh, okay. So my God, that maybe it was the shadows that the way it was sitting.
We'll put him down there.
Yeah. Because I guess it was because it's dark. Like it made it look like I was looking over like,
well, now is he scary back there? Maybe I'll have to move it.
He didn't look like that back there, but then again, I'm blind. So like,
well, there is, someone asked the pillow that you have in your background that has the I don't care what you call me as long as you call me yours. There's an example of a line. Yeah. There's an example. Can they get it? Where is that from? Where is that from?
That was in one of the influencer boxes that you guys did.
Oh,
no, they can't get it. I don't think.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, we would have to put it in the shop, but we did a pillowcase in the shop, and I don't know if I can't remember how that sold. So
we'll have to see. Lexi asked, how do you create the book covers? They're so pretty. And a lot of people don't know you are very heavily involved with the book covers, which some authors don't really have the choice to do that.
Yeah, I give like kind of like direction. I don't create them at all. So Hang Lee does. She does an amazing job on the covers. But I give kind of direction, and it's funny because she always sends back like sometimes 6 examples.
Yeah.
And it's funny because 3 of them will be like, you can't really, I mean, they're almost all amazing. 3 of them, you'll be kind of hard pressed to figure out what's different, but there is a difference.
Yeah.
And if you think there's not, you're going to regret it because there's a difference. But then like the other 3 will be so vastly different. You're like, how did you get from option 1 to 4? But they're always like, she's always amazing. Like, so you just give her like, this is what I'm thinking. Like with this cover, I wanted, the wolf and the crescent moon to be on it. And, and then she kind of just goes from there. She does an amazing job.
I love that some people have theories, because I know on, I think it was a Kingdom, the wedding rings or the arrow and the sword are like slightly off center, and people had a lot of theories on like what that meant. And I always love to see all the fan theories, because I know sometimes they get really involved and you're like, wow, I didn't even think of that at all.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, nope, should have thought of that, but I didn't.
But you're like, dang, wish I did think about it. And then Kim, did you have a say on the Barnes & Noble exclusive cover too? That's a great question.
Yes, that cover I absolutely love. I love that type of like whimsical, I guess. I mean, that's what it reminds me of, like a whimsical illustration.
So pretty.
Yeah, like I did. So I had another designer, Layla, who was doing the blanket, and I gave her, and then I gave Liz, the other publisher, like kind of a direction, because I wanted them to match, not completely, but be like a theme. So if
Yeah.
you ordered a special edition and you got the blanket, you could cuddle up. So I was like, I really want this like kind of whimsical vibe for it. Obviously they're not 100% the same, but I absolutely love those covers. That is probably one of my favorite covers.
Yeah.
Because because it's different. Like I just like looking at it. It's very
and even the back is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful cover. Someone asked, so one of the quotes on the back is from Sarah J. Maas. Someone asked earlier, do you and Sera ever like talk plot? Do you talk about series? Do you guys like ever chat books?
Not really. Like Sera and I'm trying to think the last time we even talked. I mean, I think I can't even, I will not say that. There's been some times when we have talked, and there's been a few times I've read a couple early copy, like before it's really even gone through copy editing. I think it was either the second or the third ACOTAR book, but usually Sera and we don't talk about that. Like, and you have some author friends where you talk about the business a lot, and then you have other ones where you rarely ever do. And it's just because you're kind of like your brain's shutting down, like where you're kind of like you just want to chill. You don't
want to talk shop.
But it's hard. I mean, at least for me, to talk plot of a book with another author, because it can mess up what you're doing. So that can be really hard.
Have you ever like read something? Do you read while you're writing?
I don't. If I do, I don't read in the genre that I'm writing. Yeah, so I'll usually read like historical romance or like paranormal.
Right. So you're not like, if you're writing paranormal, you're going to read contempt and vice versa.
Yeah, and historical fiction. Historical romance is something that I can read kind of whenever, because it's so different than the way I write, that I can kind of read that no matter what I'm working on.
Daisy from Illinois said, if you can have any superpower, what would it be?
That would be hard to pick one.
Yeah.
I think I would like the superpower of being able to read people's minds.
Oh God,
because I just think that would just be so fun to mess with people. Like, when you're in some place and somebody is like, being fake nice to your face or something, where you could be like, you could just like repeat exactly what they're thinking back to them. That is, I would love that. That would be, but with a caveat that I would like to, I would want to be able to have shields. Like I could block out people's thoughts when I wanted to. If it was like an uncontrollable thing, absolutely not. You would lose your mind hearing other people's stuff all the time.
An anonymous attendee wrote a very nice thing. And kind of it goes to like, when you started writing the series, did you ever think it was going to get to the point that like people were going to be such dedicated fans, like getting tattoos, naming their kids after characters from the series? I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Jen loves the fan art, and she'll, very quietly go onto the Etsy stores and buy it. And she has them all over her office, which I think is such a cool thing. But did you what do you think when people are like, oh, hey, there was Brittany in the fan group has this gorgeous poppy tattoo on her thigh that I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And people are naming babies after characters that you came up with. That has to be crazy. Like, what does that feel like?
It's weird because not that people are doing that. That's not what I mean. It's weird. Like when you're writing.
No, I know what you mean.
It's weird when you're writing a book, because typically when you're writing something, you never know how things are going to turn out. Right. Like you just are like, it's going to be whatever. But there's been 2 books that I've known are either going to be it's going to be a big deal or it's going to be a complete disaster, and there will be no in between. That was Wait for You and From Blood and Ash. And those are the only 2 books I've ever written that when I was done, I was like, yeah, this is going to be something huge, or this is going to be a complete clusterfuck. And there will be no in between. And luckily, so far, knock on wood, it's been the positive. But it blows me away, because I never thought it would get to the point that it has. I never expected any of that. I feel like, yes, some of it is talent. Some of it is, and I don't mean this, and because the way I'm going to say it's going to sound bad. Some of it's like what the publisher does, but a lot of it and is luck. It is an uncontrollable factor of timing, the market. And when I say the market, I don't mean like, what a publisher or what an author can do by paying attention to market trends, but there being a gap in the right moment at the right time. And these are things that you can't recreate, right? Where it just happens. Like it's lightning in a bottle, basically. And you get lucky sometimes, and sometimes you don't. And, so I never really expected it to grow as much as it did, but it's been amazing. I love all fan art. And I know that fan art sometimes becomes like a hot button topic for a lot of people. But because I've always paid attention to fan artists, even before I wrote the series, I do know that fan artists often have a certain style of drawing where all their characters, no matter what they look like in the book, they kind of have a certain style, a certain theme, whatever. And I just like seeing everybody's rendition of it. So sometimes it's not going to remotely match how I described a character. Sometimes it's going to be dead perfect, how I saw the character. All of them are amazingly talented. So yeah, I will go on to Etsy often and buy them. But sometimes it's hard to find the people's shops.
I know.
They make it very difficult. I'm like, where is your shop at? But yes, I do have quite a bit of them hanging out.
Are you going to get a Poppy or a Sera tattoo?
I wouldn't get a face one. I've been trying to get a tattoo for like several months now, but the only reason why I haven't gotten another one is just purely I haven't booked it. But I want to get the fire and ash tattoo of the dagger and the crescent moon.
That was a fan. That was Stephanie, art by Stephanie, right?
No, I don't know which one did that one. I think that was Layla.
I think I'm lying. Well, whoever it was
yeah, amazing. But it was. So that's what I want to get kind of here. And so, but I keep forgetting to make the appointment.
I'm just going to make you do it one of these days. Alexandria asks, and I know the answer to this. Do you ever take breaks from writing?
I say I'm going to, and I never do. I will take a couple days off. Like I did take off yesterday. I didn't take off today so much. I will take off the next couple days. But when I think of taking a break from writing, I think of a substantial break, like longer than a week.
Right.
And I haven't done that unless I physically cannot do it because I'm moving or something's happening. But I find it harder if I take a break. It's harder for me to get back into writing. And that's not the same for everybody. That doesn't work for everyone. But for me, I struggle hugely. If I take any long amount of time off, it's like I forget how to write a book when I sit down. Like I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't, but I would like to get to the point where, if I, feel like I don't want to write today, that I can, without a guilty conscience, just take the day off. I haven't gotten to that point mentally yet where I can do that without having like remorse for doing so.
And I think, I feel like we're almost at the end of this, which makes me sad, but I feel like we can answer one more question. Somebody asked, Nadia from Georgia, what happened in the joining? Girl, use your imagination.
Well, I think probably what do you think happened?
No, I know.
But yeah, I wrote, because, I do get that question a lot where people are like, why wasn't it super detailed? And it's because I didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
It's like, if you've ever noticed, like when first time I write a character having like sex, I don't have them super detailed in that scene. I kind of want it to be more focused on emotion, but especially for that scene, I want it to be more focused on emotion and what these people will do for each other, because they genuinely love and care about one another and they will do anything for each other. And I wanted it to be more focused on that than, body part A and body part B, body part C. So that was kind of a conscious decision to not make it super graphic.
And then, I mean, I feel like, I know a lot of people are asking what your favorite character is. And I know that again is like picking.
Oh gosh, that's like that is
I
hard.
know that's really
Yeah.
picking your favorite.
Because I love every character and hate them all equally.
There has to be a point, right? Like it's like siblings, like you get to the point that you're so close and you're like, I just don't want to see your face right now.
But you know, if I had to pick one, I would have to be like Delano or Reaver. Because Delano is like a little marshmallow puff, and just Reaver is just like a grumpy jerk face who's fun. So he's fun.
I love him though. I love him and Jadis. Like they're my favorite.
Yeah, I do. I would think probably them as children are probably some of my favorite things to write, because when they're in their Draken form, I do model them after my dogs, Apollo and Artemis.
Like, oh my God, now that you say that,
you've been around them and you can totally see it. And so like I kind of do model some of that off of that. But it's fun to write them in their kid form, especially the one scene in A Light in the Flame where I feel like Sera is like everybody who's ever been stuck watching like someone else's kid for 5 seconds, and the parents like everything will be fine, and you're like, it's not, and then it's not, like it's chaos the moment an adult leaves the room, and you're just like,
well, the kid's like, my parents are gone. I could burn the house down. Literally. Like, let's just put fire everywhere.
And that's what Jadis tries to do.
She gets that. It's the best. The fork scene was amazing, Lawrence. I mean, it was the whole thing with the endearing part of them. It's like, it's so cute. And again, to your point, if you've ever watched a child in your life, you know exactly that's what it's like.
Yeah, it's like the sin is like, and I feel like, you know, kids are like, you know, they can sense when you don't have that parental authority, like you're not a parent, they can sense that. So they know they're going to probably be able to push it a little bit farther with you because you're probably going to let them do more, mainly because you're kind of like, no, this may be entertaining. Not my kid. I can walk away from this situation.
And on that note, before this ends abruptly, I just want to say thanks to Barnes and Noble, and thanks to you, and thanks to all of the fans who joined us today. You guys are our rock stars, and we are so thankful for all of you. And happy book birthday to Lighten the Flames.
And thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm super excited that the book is finally out. I feel like we've waited forever for it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It was one of my favorite books to write, so.
Oh, yay. I didn't know that. That makes me very happy. And we see lots of congrats, and I wish I could read them all, but they're going so fast.
I see a lot of hearts.
Yes, lots of hearts, a lot of party horns.
I thought they were slices of pizza.
Oh my God.
I can't see them. They're just shaped like pizza.
They kind of do look like pizza. Now I'm never going to look at the party horn.
Right? I'm telling you what, it's going to be a pizza from here on out.
From here on out, everyone's just going to do the pizza party horn. And I mean, I know that we still have I think we still have 2 more minutes, so we don't really know what to do. But
do you have another quick question?
Oh my God, a really fun one. Will one of your llamas ever make a cameo in one of your books?
They are alpacas. So they're not llamas. I do not have any llamas. We've been trying to get a llama, but they're very hard to get. Probably not. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one day. But alpacas, a lot of people are like, what's the difference between an alpaca and a llama? A llama is a lot friendly. They're bigger. They're much bigger, but they're friendlier. So they're going to approach you a lot more. That's why you hear a lot of stories of llamas spitting and people. It's because they're not afraid of you. Alpacas are smaller and they're pack animals, and they're a lot more scared of people. So it's like alpacas are like cats and llamas are like dogs. So they come around if they want your attention, which means usually you have carrots or alfalfa. Then they'll come and pay attention to you, as you've seen them.
I have done this.
Yeah. And then any other time they're just like, whatever.
They're like, we're busy. We're not interested.
Yeah, they're like,
carrots, lady. They're like, where's the pizza?
Right? Yeah, they're like, where's the pizza?
Where's the pizza? We don't
give me my alfalfa carrot pizza.
Well, I think that is it. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys again. I hope you all had a good time.
Yes. If not, we're really sorry. At least you learned now the party horns is now looks like pizza.
Yes, they're pizza from here on out.
And then I didn't have a stuffed monkey on my bookshelf.
I still think it looked like a monkey.
Oh, poor Figment.
All right, guys. Bye.
Okay, bye.